Hey, I'm Olivia,
I'm Regan.
and you're listening to Soarin' Around WDW.
Okay, so we're going to start and get into some news before we get into our first of 4 series of going through the parks, talking through them in great detail. Before we do that, we have just a little bit of news. Obviously, it's Christmas time. We talked about Halloween 2 weeks ago now.
Yep.
And for those of you that don't know, Magic Kingdom, or all of Disney basically, switches over from Halloween decorations to Christmas decorations from the 31st to the 1st, which I believe we talked about a little bit last week. But Jollywood Nights has started officially today, the recording of this podcast on November 9th. Weird thing compared to last year is that last year it sold out like as soon as it was announced, basically. I'd imagine that was because I think last year was either the second or the first year.
Yeah.
Still really early in its like life cycle last year, and I guess this year people were less enthusiastic about it, but it did sell out for the first night just yesterday, or at least it was reported sold out yesterday. And so the piece of news that we have for that is that they did in fact start constructing the ice skating rink, and it is exactly where we thought it would be, in the middle of that plaza by the Chinese
Right outside
Theater.
the Chinese Theater. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they will be only using that show during Jollywood Nights, but I would imagine that skating rink will stay there throughout the day, which is interesting. I wonder how that works with it just baking in the Florida heat. But
Yeah, that is interesting because it's not covered. So you
Right.
would think that would be really hard to maintain.
well, at least it didn't seem covered in the pictures we saw, but it might.
True.
Maybe they have some kind of method during the day to cover it up.
Or I mean like a canopy over it. Like there's nothing really protecting it from the sun.
Right.
That's,
Unless they construct something during the day,
True.
like, or have something they can throw up during the day. Anyway, another piece, just a little bit of tidbit for Premier Pass, in case you were ever considering using it. Don't, but there is the option in Premier Pass. This is the super expensive $400 one lightning lane per ride type thing that we've discussed a few weeks ago. But something to consider with that is that you can modify the park. You can modify the date once you buy it. And so if you buy Magic Kingdom, which is always the most expensive, you can modify it to any other park. I don't think it will give you your money back. But I think people were testing this to see if you could modify it up.
Yeah, so this does not mean that you can modify, like, use it at a different park, like
No,
multiple parks.
this all has to be before you've used it.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you use one ride at Magic Kingdom and then you're like, oh, let's go to a different park, you can't modify it.
Okay.
So if
but
you
people are trying to
haven't,
see if they could buy the cheaper and
Right,
modify
and
it
then
to
modify
the
it
higher
up.
without paying.
correct. Also, they were trying to see if they could use all the rides and then modify it to a different park after, and you can't do that either.
Okay.
So, but when you modify it, so if I buy Animal Kingdom, which is the cheapest, and then try and modify it to a different park, it will just charge you the difference. So you can do it; it'll just charge you the difference.
Okay.
So if you
But
wanted to
won't
make
necessarily
yourself
give
like,
you your money back.
no, not that I saw,
Interesting.
but if you wanted to feel a little bit better about your purchase, you could just do it in like $100 increments and start at Animal Kingdom, modify it up to Epcot, modify it up to Hollywood, then modify it up to Magic.
Oof.
Each one costs like $100 more, 100 plus. Don't use that system. It's terrible.
Yeah, just don't do it. Do
yeah,
regular Genie Plus.
Yeah.
Or whatever it's called.
Lightning Lane Multi-Pass, actually.
Multi-Pass. Oh my gosh. Too many name changes.
Honestly, how dare you? Like I said, Christmas decorations have arrived. Christmas parties have started at Magic Kingdom. That's exciting for those of you that are going to attend. Olivia and I will not be attending this year. Despite we did last year technically for a challenge, but we didn't do anything even remotely related to the Christmas party.
We got an ornament.
We did get an ornament
when we walked in. I
when
still
we
have
walked
mine.
inside. Yeah, that's true. Another big piece of news, or kind of big for us, in that I don't know that I've heard of this happening ever in my life, which goes to show that this is pretty rare and not really something to be concerned about. But Epcot apparently failed to open on time, according to park hours. Cast members were just telling guests that they were having technical difficulties. So like the whole park. So I think that would be whether you're in line for early entry or not early entry, like the park didn't open. Which you would have to imagine it would have to be a pretty major problem that's happening for guests to not be able to just walk inside. Yeah. And so I think that this just unlocked a fear for me.
Yeah. For challenge day.
Yeah, for challenge days. Like, there's always just so many things that can go wrong at the beginning of a challenge day. Like, for example, like when Olivia and I went to our day last December, we had this plan in the morning to go on Remy's, then go over to Test Track before going on our Fast Pass for Frozen or Lightning Lane for Frozen. Yeah. And, like, we walked over to Test Track. This is, like, 10 minutes into the day, and Test Track was closed. It didn't open on time. And so it's like, I've heard of attractions not opening on time. That's pretty common. But the whole park, like...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and it's weird because I thought when I first read it, I was like, oh, was it something with scanning the tickets to get in or what? But then other parks were open. So it wasn't like a whole system.
That's actually a good
specific to Epcot.
Good theory, though. Like, that it would have been ticket related or technology related.
That's the only thing I could think of. I'm like, what else would prevent them from... Because if it was like a certain ride or section of the park, like the electricity wasn't working or something, they could like reroute to like, you can't go to Test Track or Mission, Space, but you can go to the World Showcase, like it is kind of weird that it was the whole park.
Well,
and do you know how long the delay was?
Yeah, so I was just looking at the article, and apparently it was an issue with the tap styles.
Oh, but just at Epcot.
Just at Epcot.
Interesting.
And it took about 20 minutes for them to get it fixed. So
dang,
park didn't open until
all early entry.
Until 9:20. And also, like all the images and pictures are showing at the front entrance. I wonder if it also happened at the International Gateway entrance.
Good question.
I don't know. That was not reported on, and we were not there. So, but yeah, no, that's all the news we have for this week. Nothing super crazy. But we are going to talk...
Hopefully that won't happen again.
Yeah, hopefully that never happens again. But we are going to talk about the first of our 4-park series, just diving into details about the past and the present and future of each individual park. And we're going to start with Magic Kingdom, which is what you guys voted for.
Yes. Thank you to everybody who voted on the Instagram poll. It's always fun to hear like what you guys want to hear about, because we're going to do all 4 parks either way, but we put up a little poll to kind of see which one did y'all want to hear about first. And when looking into doing an individual series on each of the 4 parks, I was like, okay, we can just go into really detail about everything that's there, but then really wanted to start getting into like the history of the parks, like what's not there anymore. So that's actually where we're going to start today, is just the history, what is gone that used to be there that's no longer there, because I think we could talk about each park for way longer than an hour. So we're going to kind of this series will kind of be like a history, looking back and kind of talking about what we would do, present day with each park. And Magic Kingdom obviously is the park with the most attractions. We've learned it's not spatially the largest park, to our surprise, but it's the park with the most attractions, and it's had a lot of change. Where all the parks have had a lot of change, but Magic Kingdom, when I was going through the list, I was like, wow, there has been a ton of change. Some of it we were alive for, some of it we are not alive for, so we can't super speak to a lot of the things pre us, but yeah, so let's just dive right in. So Magic Kingdom opened obviously on October 1st, 1971, and when it opened it had 23 attractions. And attractions, they kind of use loosely, it doesn't necessarily mean rides, so just keep that in mind. It did include 20 replicas from Disneyland, and only 3 of the rides were unique, which I found to be super interesting. So they basically copy pasted 20 of Disneyland's attractions and put them in Magic Kingdom in Orlando. They had the theme lands, Main
What were
Street.
the 3 rides?
That is a great question. I have a list of what was all there when it opened, so we probably could figure it out.
I'll figure it out. Keep talking.
Yeah. So we have the lands that were themed. There was one that was exclusive to Magic Kingdom. Do you know which one is exclusive to Magic Kingdom that they do not have at Disneyland? Because at Disneyland, there's more, like, there's like, yeah.
Tron.
It's still there. The land, no, lands.
Oh.
So, like, Main Street, Adventureland, like, what do they not have at... No, they have that at Disneyland.
Frontierland.
Nope, they have that at Disneyland, too. Theirs is, like, Frontierland and Critter Country, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but it's called Critter Country now. Or Critter County, or whatever. Well, then it has to be Fantasyland.
No, Liberty Square. So they have New Orleans in...
That doesn't count as a land. That's part of Frontierland.
No, Liberty Square is its own thing on the map. It's its own section.
That's stupid.
So that's the difference. So the theme lands when it opened were Main Street, USA, Adventureland, Frontierland, Fantasyland, Tomorrowland, and Liberty Square. And Liberty Square, if you don't know where that is, it's where Haunted Mansion is considered to be, over like a very small corner of the park, and also has like Hall of Presidents. I think oh my goodness, I'm like totally blanking on our favorite Liberty Tree Tavern. I'm like, what is our favorite restaurant's name? That's all over in Liberty Square. So that on opening day was kind of what it looked like, but also as far as the Walt Disney World Resort, it included the Contemporary and the Polynesian, which my dad kind of alluded to. Grand Floridian was not yet open. They also had the Palm and Magnolia golf courses that are still there, the Fort Wilderness Campground, and the monorails. The monorail was there. They had the boat. They had trams and different motor coaches. And they had this big grand opening celebration, which included a concert by the World Symphony Orchestra. They had a luau at the Polynesian Village Resort. They had this dedication of the Contemporary by Bob Hope. And then they had this big opening day parade with this marching band. So lots of stuff for the opening day, opening week celebration. And when it opened in 1971, we did talk about this on a prior episode for a trivia question, but admission was $3.50 for adults, $2.50 for juniors under 18, and $1 for children under 12. So like 12 to 17 was $2.50, and then under 12, so like 11 and younger, was $1, which is crazy. That was not that long ago for it to be $1. Yeah, and this is where Dad talked about in our episode with our dad. If you haven't listened to it, definitely listen. That was most people's favorite episode that we've ever done. But they had ticket books, so you got, A, ticket attractions, B, ticket attractions, C, D, and E, and you could only use it for one of those attractions, sometimes two of those attractions or whatever, and then you would have to go buy another ticket book. So for $1, you could still do like a good amount of things. So attractions that were there on opening day, and this was thanks to Mouselets, they had a little article about this, which was fun to read, were Haunted Mansion, Country Bear Jamboree, the Diamond Horseshoe Review, which is now just a restaurant, but when it was opened at Disney World at Magic Kingdom, it was actually similar to like Hoop-Dee-Doo, like the Hoop-Dee-Doo Review, like a show in there, and it was cool to see old pictures of that. Dumbo, the shooting gallery, was considered an attraction. So this is what I mean by attraction versus rides. Hall of Presidents was open on opening day, which I thought was very interesting. The Carousel, Small World, Jungle Cruise, Mad Tea Party, the Mickey Mouse Review, which we'll talk about later, Mike Fink Keel Boats, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, the Skyway, Snow White's Scary Adventures, Swiss Family Treehouse, the Tropical Serenade, which is now the Tiki Room, Grand Prix Raceway, which is now Tomorrowland Speedway, and the Walt Disney World Railroad. So there are technically 41 attractions. This says 19, so I don't know if I'm missing.
Yeah, I was trying to look. I'm trying to cross-reference with this list that you have. Did you say Peter Pan?
No.
Yeah, Peter Pan's Flight was their opening day. Main Street Vehicles technically counts as an attraction.
Okay. Yeah.
Enchanted Tales with Belle was a thing opening day.
It was open? Oh, really?
That's what it says on Google.
Well, I had to cross-reference a lot of this because people did have different information as far when we get into like rides that have closed. I was like, no, there was also this ride, and like that wasn't on somebody's list, and it was very interesting to like. I really had to dig.
Right.
But yeah, so those were all the quote-unquote attractions that were there on opening day. Today there are technically 41 attractions, but what are the number of rides at Magic Kingdom, Regan?
I mean, like, it depends on what you count as a ride, but 26.
26 per the challenge rules.
No, 26 for Parkeology rules, 25 for challenge rules.
Okay, because the rafts don't count for challenge.
Also, really quick tidbit about the Tomorrowland Speedway, or like whatever it was called back then.
Yeah, Grand Prix Raceway.
Yeah, so everyone thought that was going to get erased for Tron when it came, I guess, or when Tron was coming.
Yeah.
And apparently, like, the place where Tron ended up, it has always been rumored that they were going to put a replica of Matterhorn there.
Oh, really? Oh God, I'm glad they didn't. I can't stand that ride.
Yeah, but like that would have been such a weird, like, out of place thing to have in the corner of Tomorrowland. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Tron makes way more sense.
But yeah, so that's just super interesting to me. It's like everyone's like, oh, I guess we're not getting Matterhorn like 50 years later.
Yeah. No, gosh, no, thank you. If you've ever been on Matterhorn Mountain and your back is still okay, let me know, because mine is still not okay. It hurts so bad. They really need to fix the ride vehicles to be a little more cushioned, like Space Mountain. It has a little more cushion.
Space Mountain hurts too now, though. So I don't know that the cushions would solve the problem of it just being old.
The ride, yeah, it's just old. So now we're going to run through the previous rides, and some of these I have very vivid memories of. Some of these I was like, what is this? And had to look it up. But these are the rides that no longer exist. So we'll kind of go through one by one and talk about what they were replaced by, if they were replaced, and kind of the evolvement of each of these rides, because some of them changed a few times before they're at their final destination, or they're maybe not final because things are always changing at Disney. But the first one is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and that was open not on opening day, but October 14th, so a couple weeks later, 1971, until September 5th, 1994. And initially, this was replaced by Pooh's Playful Spot, and then Ariel's Grotto, and now it's part of like the new Fantasyland expansion. Everything I was reading online when I was trying to look at maps, it looks like Mine Train kind of sits over the top of where they filled in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
100% does, yeah.
Yeah. So in 2004, so it was closed in 1994. And then in 2004, they announced they were filling it. So do you remember as a kid, like when you go back, like it was just empty. It was just like, or just like water.
I remember
there was, like,
just
no
water.
Attraction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also remember, like, I think, and this might be not real, but I feel like I also remember there being like a stagnant submarine still there.
Yes, I think you're right. Like the track, I'm pretty sure was still there. It just sat.
Yeah, it was just like an abandoned, haunted freaking attraction in the middle of
creepy.
Fantasyland. But no, I remember like that water being there because I used to like sit by that gate or like that fence. I feel like pretty often when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then they covered it up for when they were starting the work on. I guess no. Did they cover it up for the character meet and greets, or were the character meet and greets just like off to the side?
They're just off to the side. They didn't fill it in until 2004, and that's when they started, like, it was like from 2004 for a while that then they started working on the expansion of Fantasyland.
10 years?
So,
didn't
10
it not open
years.
until 14? Yeah.
No, the expansion opened, maybe Mine Train didn't open until then, but no, they were doing other stuff. Like, that's when they closed Toontown, like, which we'll talk about, like, shortly after that, and started doing stuff there. But yeah, it pretty much sat empty just with the water and the track for 10 years, which is crazy. So I do definitely have memories of seeing that and being like, what was that? And then Dad would be like, oh, it was this ride. But you've been on now at Disneyland, they rethemed this to Finding Nemo, and have you been on it?
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, it's horrifying. Yeah.
Some people really love this ride and really miss it, and I'm like, I was terrified. When they went in, they shut that thing, and like, I know you're not really fully underwater, but the thought of something happening in that ride and trying to get all those people out of that thing freaks me out. Like, really freaks me out.
I think that's like one of the only times in my life I've experienced like claustrophobia.
Yes, me too. It was terrifying. So, okay, that is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And then another ride that is closed and was modified a little bit, but it started off as If You Could Fly and If You Had Wings, and then it was Delta Dream Flight, and this was open June 23rd, 1989 through January 5th, 1998. So right before we moved there. I think this had I don't remember. It didn't have a height requirement because it was basically the same track as it is now. Do you know what it replaced?
Well, I missed the beginning. What are we talking about?
Oh, sorry. It's the If You Could Fly and If You Had Wings that got changed to Delta Dream Flight. Have you heard about this ride?
I have no idea what you're talking about. No.
Okay. So it is replaced now by Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. So it was in that same building and it had this like omnimover that moved you through. So instead of facing forward like you do to shoot with Buzz and you can move around, you basically move through it almost like Spaceship Earth. And it kind of went through like the flight at like the history of flight. So that was there. Do you remember that? No, I don't remember that. And I would have been able to ride it because it wouldn't have had a height requirement when I went for my trip. We're going to have to ask Dad next time we have him on.
Yeah, like one of my earliest memories is the Buzz ride. So like I always, because I developed like an attachment to that. So I didn't know that there was something in that ride before that.
Yeah, so I would have gone twice before this closed, like while this was still open. So we probably did go on it. I also it makes me want to go back and look at home video footage and see like of our Disney trips if this was on there, because Dad recorded almost every single thing we went on. Yeah. So yeah, I had not heard of this, and I was like, oh well, I'd heard the name, but I was like, I don't know what that is, and I actually thought it was an Epcot. So learned something new. It was in Magic Kingdom. And then Davy Crockett the Explorer canoes. So I thought this was just a Disneyland thing, but this actually was a Disney World thing for a long while. It actually was open 1971 until 1994. And it launched near Tom Sawyer Island, like raft launch before that was a thing. And you could ride in the canoe around the rivers of America. It was obviously, you weren't paddling the canoe like it was an attraction, but I didn't know that was there. I thought that was only a Disneyland thing, which it is. Oh, it just reopened not that long ago at Disneyland as well, which sounds terrible. I'm really surprised they still do this, because you'd think that would be
the canoes?
Like a, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it counts as a ride on the ride list, so.
It does. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Interesting. You never have been on it, though, at Disneyland?
No.
Okay. And then similar to that, the Mike Fink keel boats from 1971 to 2001. So I was like, wow, I really missed this.
Definitely remember the remnants of these boats, like the boats still being out there. It was seasonal, though.
Yes. So that's, we'll talk about that. So it was, it didn't function all the time. And at Disneyland, they had these same boats. And in 1997 at Disneyland, the boat capsized and dumped a boatload of passengers into the rivers of America. And then it closed at Disneyland, but they kept it open at Disney World for another 4 years. Wow. And then so today, a former Mike Fink keelboat from the Magic Kingdom's version sits as a non-functional prop on the banks of Tom Sawyer's Island. So it's still out there. So now I got to go back and look for it when we're there and on the riverboat.
Definitely.
Because it's probably on the back side, because I don't remember seeing it from Liberty Square.
Does it look like a canoe?
Walking. No, it's pretty big. It's bigger.
Okay.
I'll have to show you a picture. But so yeah, it still hangs out on Tom Sawyer Island, like on the banks as a prop, which is super interesting. But I don't remember riding this. I obviously have a lot of memories of the riverboat, but I do not remember riding this, and it was open for quite a while.
This thing's massive.
Yeah. It's not as big as a riverboat probably, but it's like maybe half the size.
Yeah, if that capsized, that would be problematic.
Terrifying.
Yeah. I thought it was just like a little boat like you're paddling in.
No.
No, this is like big. A whole thing. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so scary. I can't imagine being one of those people, or like with children. Like, that's terrifying. But I don't know how deep Rivers of America is. But I would imagine you can't touch the bottom.
I don't know. Something is on something like it's grabbing the track for the riverboat.
Right.
Can't be that deep. But it's definitely deep enough where like people were swam in it.
Yeah, like kids. Thinking about kids that maybe couldn't swim. Oh, terrifying. Anyways, that's another creepy part of... Well, some of this is like creepy history of Disney. And then another ride that now is something else, like was something changed and now is back to the original, is the Enchanted Tiki Room. So originally, like we talked about, it was there on opening day, but was called the Tropical Serenade, turned into the Tiki Room, and then turned into Enchanted Tiki Room under new management. And I feel like this is a very polarizing topic because people either really love the version with Zazu and Yago or they really hated it. And this was only open from April 5th, 1998. Well, I mean, not only until January 12th, 2011. So it stayed quite a while, 13 years. But do you remember, have you been in the regular, just like Tiki Room version since this closed?
Like since it's become not the Yago version?
Yeah.
I've been in once.
Okay.
It's very
And do you remember
boring.
the Yago version? Yes, that's how I feel. Like, I feel like and maybe it's just because we're 90s kids.
Well, I used to like wait for like the little witch would freak me out and stuff, and like none of that happens anymore, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's literally just like birds that sing a little bit
singing.
and you leave.
Yeah, I've only been in once since they took away Zazu and Yago, and I was underwhelmed, and I have not gone back since. And I actually thought it would be something my kids would like when it was Yago and Zazu because they love Aladdin and Lion King. But I do remember as a little kid getting a little freaked out by the witch. But it was so fun. I thought the song was catchy. Like, I really liked the addition of them, obviously being Disney characters. But some people were like, no, this was like an original Walt ride. And like, it was so precious to him, like Disneyland. And they ruined it with the characters. But I really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that... I mean, I didn't really like it. It's not something that I would, like, choose to go on, but
I would have.
it's definitely better than the original, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I don't know, I, like, never really pay attention to it because, again, for a challenge, it's not a ride, so it's not as much of a priority, obviously, for when we visit anyway. But, I mean, this thing never has a line anymore, and I do remember when it was Yago and Zazu that it did have line. Like,
or at least a solid amount of people going in, like a big group at a time. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
So that's another one. And then probably the most terrifying of them all that is closed is Extraterrestrial Alien Encounter, not just terrestrial, extraterrestrial, emphasis on terror, and Stitch's Great Escape. So a little bit of background on this ride. Initially the proposal for this ride was based on the movie Alien. And the problem was that movie was rated R. So Disney was like, no. They gave it the boot. They said, we're not doing anything that's R-rated in the parks. And we don't, represent R-rated stuff. But then they ended up using it in the Great Movie Ride.
How far we've come since then, though. Like, now they own Deadpool and Wolverine, and they put Deadpool in the parks, like, immediately when that movie came out.
Yeah, so they definitely have changed, and they obviously have a lot more PG-13 content now. Like, Pirates is PG-13.
Right,
yeah.
Well, also the fan base, I guess, have grown.
Yeah, definitely. But it was funny that they said that, gave it the boot, but then they put it in the Great Movie Ride, and that was a terrifying scene.
That's true. That was a terrifying scene.
Ride
yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
But I guess this was, like, early, like when Alien first came out. They're like, we want to make an attraction about this.
So this wasn't Alien like Alien. So what was it?
Correct. Literally just a scary alien thing, but not the movie Alien.
But what was the alien?
Isn't that weird?
What did it look like?
Something they made up. Oh my gosh, Google it. You're going to be terrified and have nightmares. It did not look the same as the Alien movie. Look, Alien movie from Alien, if y'all haven't seen it or haven't been on Great Movie Ride, it's like a longer kind of like oval curved head thing. This one was different.
What?
It's scary.
I mean, like the other one's more scary, but this is just like a bug.
Yeah, almost like a bug. Yeah, the other one is a little more scary, but this ride was terrifying. It was open from January 12th, 1995 until October 12th, 2003. And then after it closed, Stitch came in, which was Stitch's Great Escape, from November 16th, 2004 until January 6th, 2018. But they didn't say it was closed January 6th, 2018. They just said, it's not open during the day. They didn't announce it as permanently closed until July 16th, 2020. And the reason that it closed supposedly was just poor ratings, frequent breakdowns, and a lack of maintenance. And it was the lowest rated ride in the park.
Wow.
Which
really?
kind of surprised me a little. Like, I didn't love the Stitch ride, but I didn't hate the Stitch ride. I hated the chili burp, if that triggers anybody's gag reflex.
Yeah, but it wasn't that bad. I mean, like, it's not a ride, so we wouldn't have gone on it for the challenge. It's just a show.
Yeah, it's just a show.
Seats don't
But if
move.
you've never been on this, basically, I only went on the Alien Encounter version maybe once or twice. Did you ever go on it?
No, I was way too little.
You were too little. Okay. Well, it was up until 2003. So well, yeah, I guess you're still too
7?
little. But
You're saying it was terrifying now.
It was terrifying. I think I went when I was 7 or 8, but
Yeah, well, you had more of a backbone than I did.
I don't know about that. You sit in this room, and it's a circular room, and in the very middle is this stage, and you get into the seats. And I think the most terrifying thing about it was you pull, like, basically like Rock and Roller Coaster. This thing comes down over your head and onto your shoulders and clicks in, so you cannot get out. Like, it is so scary. And then this alien breaks out of its cage, and and they have like the hissing right behind your head, and on your legs you feel like stuff hitting your legs. It is scary. Like, the Stitch version was still a little scary, but whatever, not terrible. But the fact that you're like locked in there, I did not like that. I
think that the concept that they probably, I imagine the Stitch version was very similar in its like performance and like the way that it went. And so like the part where it goes like pitch black,
yes,
and then it's like jumping on your shoulders and stuff, and it pushes down on you. Like, I think that part would be scary, way scarier,
no matter what,
if it was an alien. But it was definitely unsettling even when it was just Stitch.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, okay, Stitch isn't that scary. You're not going to, like, kill me, but this alien might. It was horrible. It was so scary. So now what's interesting enough is that this is just sitting, like, abandoned. So there's this creepy picture, which I will have to post this week, of, like, the animatronic Stitch. I'm going to send this to you right now, Regan.
I've seen this. I've seen it.
Okay, where he's just, like, creepily, it looks like he's dead, just, like, abandoned animatronic sitting in the ride. So it's just sitting empty like that, supposedly, which is wild. Like, I don't know. I can't believe they're not using that space, like, especially in Tomorrowland. You'd think they could come up with some kind of show or attraction similar to that, where you kind of filter in. There was like a couple pre-show rooms, and then you go in and sit and watch the show. I can't believe they can't come up with something for that. But that's another one that's sitting empty and abandoned.
And I think Alien Encounter is still a thing
in other parks?
In Disneyland Paris.
Really?
Yeah. Well, maybe.
Oh, it's so scary.
People were posting about it like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Interesting.
But it looks like it was a history video.
Well, and before this was there, before the Alien Encounter was there, they had something in that same room that was called Flight to the Moon, and then was called Mission to Mars, and it was more of like a space theme, which makes total sense with Tomorrowland, before it got changed to Alien Encounter. So similarly, you'd sit in the room. I don't know that you had like the harnesses, but you would watch like as if the rockets were taking off to space. So they've used it for other things. I'm very surprised they haven't done something else with that space. Like maybe something with the Tomorrowland movie, or I don't know, just something different. But moving on. Then we also have The Legend of the Lion King, which was one of my favorites as a kid. It ran from July 8th, 1994 through February 23rd, 2002. And it was where PhilharMagic is. So it was replaced by Mickey's PhilharMagic. The stage, though, so in PhilharMagic, there's a good bit of seating in there. The stage for The Legend of the Lion King, which I kind of remember, was huge. It was 125 feet wide, and it was bigger than the actual seating area for the show. So there was way less seating. So the capacity was much, much smaller, and that's because they were huge puppets, basically. Like, some of them were like animatronics almost, but they were like big, giant puppets.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures of this now. I kind of remember this.
Oh, so Parkeology posted a long time ago this article that they got to do a behind-the-scenes tour at Hollywood Studios back when the Backlot tour was still there, which dreams. And they got to see all the old puppets in the warehouse from the show, just like, again, abandoned and sitting there. And they were so creepy. You'll have to go look at their article.
Yeah,
they're creepy. Crazy. But yeah, I remember this show vividly, especially from like one of my first trips. I was Lion King obsessed. That was my theme for my birthday when I was younger, for sure, once, maybe twice. And I loved this show. So it was basically just going through the movie, singing the best songs, like a brief overview with the puppets. But it was really, really well done. The puppets were massive, so they were super cool. So that was The Legend of the Lion King, so now PhilharMagic. And then there was another show that was there before Lion King in that same theater, and it was called the Mickey Mouse Revue. And this was maybe the most interesting ride that I came upon that I didn't know about already. It ran from 1971 to 1980. It was an e-ticket ride, which is crazy.
Wow.
And there were 81 animatronics used in this attraction.
Wow.
15 still exist today. It was wildly popular, but then the problem was Tokyo Disneyland came in and they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do at their park, and they kind of stole it and took it to Tokyo Disneyland, and it was there until 2009. So it ran from 1980 in Tokyo until 2009, or opening day in Tokyo, whatever that was, until 2009, which is crazy. But what's kind of cool is they've reused some of these animatronics in things. So the three Caballero.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the pictures of the three cabs, and I was like,
yes.
Wait a second.
Yes, so they reused those and took them. So they went from Magic Kingdom to Tokyo, and then they brought them back from Tokyo, and they've been in Epcot since 2015 in the ride, the original animatronics, which is so cool.
That's awesome.
And then they also used the molds of the Seven Dwarfs animatronics in this attraction to create the Seven Dwarfs animatronics in Snow White Scary Adventures. And then also some of the figures are now found in the cottage at the end of Mine Train.
Whoa.
So I was like, that is so cool. It's stuff like this that I like really get into and like love when they keep little hidden Mickeys, hidden gems in the rides. And it's just really fun to find stuff like this. So next time I go on Mine Train in December, when we do our challenge, I definitely want to look for these and three cabs, and it's just cool to see and know that those were originals from like 1971. I mean, the mold, so like not exactly 100% original.
Still close
for
enough.
Mine Train.
I mean, that's cool though. It's funny,
yes,
this Mickey Mouse from this, like, this is not what he, like, the model of the character anymore.
Yeah.
He does not
Mickey
like
Mouse.
This. Also,
Briar Bear and Briar Rabbit, like Briar Fox, those characters were in that show.
Wow.
So that was pre-Splash Mountain. So, like, super cool. A lot of characters. Baloo, like, there were so many characters that then didn't have their own show that they like, and some of them didn't sing, like not all of them sang, but there were so many characters used in that show, and I was like, that is so cool. That's what we need, is like something like that brings all these old characters, and that would be a great way to like bring Briar Fox and Briar Bear back into the world without causing a ton of controversy, I think. But because people really miss those characters. But yeah, so that was one of the coolest rides that I saw. I was like, oh my gosh, I wish that I could have experienced that. I'm gonna have to watch the video on YouTube that is out there.
Yeah, that's cool.
But it's
really cool.
Really cool ride. And then obviously we talked a lot about Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. It was there from opening day until 1998 and was replaced by Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. This still lives at Disneyland. If you've never been on it at Disneyland or you skip it, don't skip it. It's great. Love that ride. Really great dark ride. And then also Muppets Present great moments in American history, which was a newer thing that was there from 2016 to 2019. It was in the Heritage House, the second story of it, which is not next to the Hall of Presidents in Liberty Square.
Yeah, because this is the reason why people are thinking Hall of Presidents would get replaced by something Muppets if they get rid of Muppet Vision 3D.
Honestly, like, I'm not opposed to it. Like, I like the Muppets. I don't think they should just totally get rid of it. The problem with getting rid of Muppet Vision 3D, or I wish they would almost take it and put it in that theater, because it was Jim Henson's, like, last project. So I get, like, why they don't want to mess with it. And it's I love Muppets 3D, so Vision 3D. So it was a really, really good show, and it is patriotic, so I'm fine with ditching Hall of Presidents. I think it's boring.
We'll have to see what happens. Like, yeah, same. And like, I think I went in. I definitely went in once when Trump became president. I think I went in once when Biden became president, because like it's so funny because like those are the only presidents I think that I've like really paid attention to what they look like, I guess, in my lifetime. Besides Obama,
Yeah.
But Obama, I feel like Obama's animatronic was solid. But like Trump's and Biden's both, like, it feels like they did not put a lot of effort into making it look good. Yeah, like Trump looks horrible, and then Biden's like eyes didn't fit like his.
Oh,
so like his eyes were just like black holes.
Yeah, the last time I was in there was when Obama was made, when his animatronic was made. I haven't been in since then, I don't think.
Yeah,
but
well, now, I mean, I feel like we're now. Election was like a few days ago, 6 days ago. And I feel like if they're gonna get rid of it, now would make the most sense of timing wise, because like they're gonna have to close it to move around.
Well, I don't know what they're gonna do, or if they're just gonna make Trump stand twice. It's never happened before. So
well, he has to stand in the middle.
Oh,
like that's what the president, the active president, always is like in the front, in the middle. So, but now they don't have to like make an animatronic. So like I don't feel like they would have to close for very long. But like,
yeah.
If they were, I don't know, they could just say like we were planning on closing this attraction anyway, like to make room for something else. But
like close it, do something else. You could keep the animatronics in the background somehow with like incorporate it somehow if you want. But like, I don't know. I'm not.
Yeah, but also that's a lot of like humanoid animatronics that could be used somewhere else.
True. Yeah. True.
So,
it'd be creepy to figure out what they use which president for if they reuse them.
Yeah, that's true. I guess.
But yeah, so that is something that has been rumored with all the talk of where Monsters Inc. is going to go,
which we still don't know, which is baffles me. Like, I know.
I'm like, when are they going to tell us? It's very annoying.
Well, there's D23 Brazil is going on like right now, but I don't think anything parks related has happened yet as of recording this. So
yeah.
We'll see.
I hope we kind of know by the time that we go for the challenge, even just not like that anything's closed, but that we have a solid answer. But if we go 1 month from today is our run, actually. So looking forward to kind of seeing the space again in my mind since all this has been announced, because I haven't been back there since the announcement, and it's hard for me to sometimes like visualize like what I think in my mind is big or small is different when I get to the park.
Well, we won't be going like anywhere near those areas though.
Well, that's true. Unless we're running. As we're running, I'll look and see. That's true.
Yeah, but we'll be running, but we still won't go anywhere near. I mean, we'll go near Muppet Vision, but not like to the back area. Like the only reason I realized how big that area was because I went to Mama Melrose.
True. That's true. That's true. Yeah. So we'll see. But no announcement yet. And then the Skyway was another attraction that we kind of talked about in the episode with our dad, but that was open from opening day until 1999. Another one that I don't know if I rode when we went there.
I definitely remember it still being up there. It hadn't been taken down.
Yeah, but I don't know if we rode it. But basically it went from Fantasyland over to Tomorrowland and kind of went above and like through the park. Similar to a lot of other like Skyway, Skyliner type things, rides at other parks, like Busch Gardens has them in both their parks. But that one is like not super missed. And then Snow White Adventures, another.
The reason it closed though, it's funny.
The reason it closed is because people were like spitting and dropping stuff on people's heads.
Yeah,
which is gross.
Like you think about how rambunctious kids are these days. Like imagine just like. I mean, I don't know if it's still open in Busch Gardens, but it doesn't go over anything. It does go over some guests.
Not a lot, though.
Not a lot, though. But this would have been completely over guests. And so, like... Yeah, like, what people do for content these days, like, that ride would be a disaster.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it said about the closure was. It was like a lawsuit waiting to happen, so they were like, let's just get rid of it before we end up with a lawsuit on our hands.
Yeah.
So they closed it. But the next one that was a huge loss, in my opinion, is Snow White's Adventures, which was Snow White's Adventures, and it was Snow White's Scary Adventures, and it was open from 1994 until 2012. It opened in 1971, actually, so initially when it opened in 1971 on opening day as Snow White's Adventures, it's very different than the ride that I remembered when I was looking into this. So it was more focused on the witch, and the witch was like very realistic. A lot of the ride took place in the dungeons in the forest.
Whoa,
and then it ended
really?
with like a flashing strobe light and the witch's cackle that implied that she had killed you. That's what it said when I was looking this up. So yeah, it was like very dark. And then
which
they
version of that was it?
The 1971. I guess I don't know if it was called the same thing, Snow White's Adventures, but I think so. And then they changed it to just regular Snow White going through the story like we know it. And then people got so pissed that it was still scary that they changed it to Snow White's Scary Adventures. And apparently it was not nearly as scary as the original.
Is there a video of the original somewhere?
We gotta find. I'm sure there is. We gotta watch it.
Yeah,
but I was like,
watch that.
And this ride still does.
Because that ride was pretty like unsettling from what I remember. Yeah.
Yes, it was still scary. I mean, that movie is still scary. Like, I watched it not that long ago with Eiley, and I was like, oh, like the trees when she's imagining it, but like it looks like they're creepy people, and like she's running through the forest and it's dark, and the witch is terrifying. And then at the end when she goes to push the boulder, but then in the new version of the ride, she falls backward and she dies. Sorry, spoiler alert if you've never seen Snow White. But I guess in the first version of the ride, it seemed like she was killing you. Isn't that awful?
That's crazy.
How weird. What a weird hot take to do of a ride. But this was replaced. Now it's just Princess Fairy Tale Hall, which you can do Princess Meet and Greets. We've talked about this a little bit in past episodes as well. But
waste of space.
I hate that they replaced a ride with a meet and greet thing. That should never be the case. It should always be a different dark ride. And I know they were making Mine Train, and they were like, we're going to have a bigger, better Snow White ride. Well, then change it to a different movie. Like,
change it back to Mr. Toad. Or do the Pinocchio one's good. The Alice in Wonderland's one is good. Like, you have all this space. Toad.
I know. Yeah, all that space just kind of like wasted. So that was such a bummer. Really, really loved the Snow White ride. I always love dark rides, so that was a fun one. Yeah. And then another thing that I never did, I'm sure you probably never did it either, but it sounded kind of cool. It was something that was free to do in the parks called the Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom, and it was like a game. It was open 2012 and it closed 2021, but there was no charge to play. You could buy cards to play along, but at the Emporium or the trading post, but you didn't have to. And it was kind of like a treasure hunt thing almost through the parks. And it was like different each time you played it. You use your phone, and you would I think you would tap your wristband or your phone to this kiosk, and you like earn different things throughout your day. And I was like, that sounds super fun.
I definitely never did that. I was probably too old at the time when it came out.
Yeah. Yeah. But sounded super
interesting.
Yeah. And then obviously beloved, another huge loss was Splash Mountain, which is now replaced with Tiana's, but that was open from 1989 to 2023 and was so many people's favorite attraction of all time. I have yet to go on Tiana's, so I will make my judgments after we go next month. But
yeah, I'm excited for you to see it. I think
I'm excited to see it. I do love Tiana. It's nothing against Tiana, not a diss to her. I love Tiana so much. I think she deserved her own unique attraction, but I loved Splash Mountain. Just all the number of animatronics in that ride was incredible. It was so fun. The soundtrack was fun. It was a little scary, but I don't know. It was a great ride. So curious to see Tiana's here soon. And then I do remember this. I don't know if you do. There was a show where Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor is called The Timekeeper, and it was Robin Williams was the voice, and it was like this robot guy that was the timekeeper, and it was like a little show that you did.
You said where the Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was open 1994 until 2006. I definitely remember going on that multiple times. I've been in Laugh Floor a few times. It's cute. A lot of people really love it. It's kind of the same old cheesy jokes time after time, and they call people out. I really hate shows that like call random people out and you're not expecting it. It makes me have anxiety.
One time, so the last time I went on that was when Dad and I did our like every attraction in Magic Kingdom run in 2015, and I went in and like just. Like it gives you that like text line to send jokes to, and I just spammed it with jokes.
Oh,
like,
really?
I sent like 50 in, and like no one else sent anything, so they just kept telling the jokes that I had sent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like funny. Over and over again. They were like, "This guy sent a lot of jokes." Like they kept. It was really funny.
That's funny.
But yeah.
It's like whenever they like panned and it's like that guy, and I'm like, oh, I hate that because I'm like, I do not want to be on the screen.
That happened to me in last month in Star Tours.
Oh, yeah,
I was
like
the spy.
That guy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, that's another one that's replaced. Probably makes sense. Monsters Inc. is like a beloved IP, obviously. And then Toontown of the Past. So kind of getting into the last little section of things of the past. So Toontown of the Past, there was Mickey's house, Minnie's house, Donald's boat. That all was open 1998 until 2011. And that's where you could go, walk through their houses, meet them at the end. I vividly remember this as a kid. I definitely
100%.
have pictures outside of Mickey and Minnie's house. I also got like lost in there one time, or I thought I was lost. And like started crying and having a meltdown, and then Mom and Dad were like, we're right over here. Like they knew where I was, but like I didn't know where they were, and it was horrible. When I was like probably the trip when you were a baby, like I was really little, but it's like a vivid memory in my head. Wow. And then they also had another really cool show that I'm like, oh my gosh, bring it back. They had something called the Mickey's Starland Show, and also it was called Mickey's Magical TV World, kind of changed names, from 1990 through 1996. Again, I don't remember because we went in 96 for the first time, so I don't, or not, yeah, early 96, like March of 96. So I don't think we saw this show, but it featured characters. It was like a stage show and featured characters from The Adventures of the Gummy Bears, DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, Roger Rabbit. So all these really cool characters that came on and like sang and danced to songs from the show. I'm like, this is awesome. Why don't I want this today. I want this now. I want a decom version of this today. How cool. But yeah, a stage show back in Toontown. And now that got replaced by the Toontown Fair, which was from 1996 when that closed to 2011. And that was similar to like where you'd go and meet characters. It was like a big circus tent kind of thing.
Remember
they
that.
had merch in there. I definitely remember that. And there was like a waiting line for Mickey and Friends, and there was a waiting line for like princesses. And now it's the
Storybook
and also
Circus.
like Toontown Hall of Fame. But yeah, now it's Storybook Circus and Pete's Silly Sideshow, which I don't know what that is.
I don't. Yeah. What?
Yeah, I need to look that up. But
I guess we'll have to keep an eye out while we're over there.
Yeah, Pete's Silly Sideshow is like another thing. Oh, I guess it's like that's where you meet Donald and Goofy now. Okay. Over there.
Gotcha.
I don't know why they name things so weird. But yeah, so that is the whole gamut. See, there's a lot to get through just of the past.
Yeah, that's just the past. Kingdom. We're going to have to do a whole other episode on present and
future.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, so this is the Magic Kingdom past episode. But let us know. I'm definitely going to put up some question box or like polls of like what do you miss the most from Magic Kingdom? We've talked a lot about Mr. Toad, but when I saw some of these things, I was like, the thing I want to see the most that I didn't get to see was the Mickey Mouse Review show. So if you saw that or you've heard of it, I'd love to hear more about it and like your thoughts. Was it hokey or was it super cool? But it sounds like people really loved it because it was an e-ticket and stayed an e-ticket until it closed. And people were really sad when it went to Tokyo. But that was a really cool one. And then just, a lot of the things that they took away and replaced, or I think the biggest thing is taking away Stitch and then letting it sit empty, like what they could do with that. So we'll have to get into that in a future episode. But getting into an old versus new, which since this was filled with a lot of old versus new.
Stuff that we don't remember or didn't go on.
True. Yeah, a lot of stuff we didn't go on, but what are your thoughts about if you could choose the Mickey Mouse review with all the animatronics versus PhilharMagic?
Ooh.
What do you think you would choose?
I mean, I'm always a fan of just things I haven't experienced before.
True.
So like I would say the Mickey Mouse review. I really like animatronics. So like saying there's 83 animatronics, like that's also something about Splash Mountain that I really loved. There's so many animatronics.
So much to look at.
Yeah, and so I would definitely go with the Mickey Mouse review. Even if they did like a modern version of it, I think it'd be really cool. I love PhilharMagic. I think it's great. It's a really, really good show. Too. Like that's one of the few shows that are in current Disney that I think is like worth time.
Yeah.
But PhilharMagic's great. So no shade to that. But I something that I haven't seen before, I'll usually take over something that I've seen 100 times. So
yeah, I agree. I'm definitely going to say Mickey Mouse review. I do also love PhilharMagic, and I remember when it opened, it was really unique, like one of the newer 4D shows that like it just incorporated like Mickey, but also different princesses, and like the plot is really cute. Like it's just a really cute show. But
have you been in it since it changed?
No, it changed.
PhilharMagic has a new version. Mm-hmm.
No, I see. This is something that like Blake wasn't old enough to wear glasses like that, and so now she is, and so I have not taken. Eileen's never been, so we're definitely gonna have to go when I take her in March.
Yeah, I won't spoil anything, but it has some good stuff in there now. It's like a lot of it's still the same, but there's like they added some scenes.
Cool. Okay, that is the one thing about screens, that it's easy to change it. Mm-hmm. Easier to change it than animatronics, but I'm same as you. I love animatronics. I love rides like Haunted Mansion, Pirates, so yeah, Splash Mountain that have so many animatronics. There's just so much to look at, and you see new things like every time you ride, which is fun. So yeah, okay, cool. Good old versus new. And then for trivia this week, the question that I found that I was like, oh, I actually don't know the answer to this. What scent is pumped onto Main Street at the Disney parks? Is it cinnamon, bread, vanilla, or peppermint?
Bread?
I'm going to say vanilla.
I thought bread? I think cinnamon, but like bread I think is, I don't know. It's either cinnamon or bread.
Okay, let's see. The answer is vanilla.
Okay.
I feel like cinnamon...
I was thinking cinnamon because it always makes me want a cinnamon roll when I'm walking down Main Street.
Yeah, there is a lot about Main Street that just smell. Oh my gosh, just so many. And I feel like the candy store, like you open those doors, it's like pump. Oh my gosh, the smell.
Yeah, they do. Ugh. Main Street is very nostalgic and will always be very nostalgic.
Yeah, so good. But I feel like cinnamon is one of my favorite scents, but I think it would be maybe too strong or like overwhelming.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I do. Ooh, yeah. Love the smell of Main Street. Can't wait to be there. 1 month. The countdown is on.
It is 1 month from today, huh?
1 month from today. So, yeah, we'll have to do, when we do one of our shorter episodes of this Parks of the Past, I think that's what I'm going to call it. Parks of the Past series, this 4-part series, we'll have to get into a little bit of challenge update stuff, but we definitely don't have time for that today. But yeah, 1 month from the recording of this, November 9th, this won't come out until Wednesday, but looking forward to it, getting excited. Do you want to do your little spiel for your club?
Yeah, 33? Club 33. This is week 4, 5? 5. Wow, geez, time's flying. Week 5 of me asking for anyone that's in Club 33, if you have entry, I would love to come as a guest. I know you don't know me, and that's okay. We're going to be at Disney. Nothing's going to happen. But I just am really curious about what Club 33 is, like what it entails. And even if you just want to come on as a guest on the show, I would love to just talk about like how you get entry, how you... like what does entry provide? Like I'm sure I could Google all these things, but I kind of like the mystery of it until I've spoken to somebody that's like really in it. So so Club 33, this is my week 5 of just reaching out and asking. Eventually someone will hear and be like, that's me.
That's me. Or you want to come on the podcast? Because I have lots of questions about it. So
please don't just come on the podcast and just lie. If you're not in Club 33, you have to bring some kind of credentials.
Proof. Yeah, we need proof.
There has to be some kind of like proof. But anyway, so that's it for this week. I'm glad that it took this long to talk about the past. I mean, like I now like thinking about the concept of trying to grasp all the Magic Kingdom in 1 hour is like just not feasible. So that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. I know. That's what I started researching, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, we're gonna have to stick to the past. We'll do a present and future. Well, that's okay. We've got time.
Well, then I started
weeks to do this.
Started thinking about like the other parks too, and I was like, no, like a lot of the parks have a lot of stuff that's closed now and like different now. Hollywood Studios definitely does.
Epcot for sure
definitely does.
Animal is going to be the least, but it's already got the least. But there's still a lot to talk about.
So thanks for update in that video then.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Thanks for taking time to vote on the poll. I'm going to be putting up another poll to see which park to do next time. And then thank you again for everyone who is following us on Spotify, who's been rating us. We appreciate the reviews. Subscribing on YouTube. We've met some fun friends through that and some great content. So definitely like, subscribe, follow, whatever. And thanks for being a part of this fun journey.
Yep. All right. We'll see you next week.
All right. Bye.